Hi Anshul, hi Dhwani, hi Sudeep. Thanks for joining in. Hi Shweta, thank you so much for joining in. Hi Arpit, good to see you again. Shafiq, hi Shafiq. Hello. Wow, a lot of excitement. I think ये सब long weekend का चक्कर है सब. Crazy excitement. Thank you guys for joining in. All right, I think it's time and we'll begin. Very good evening to everyone who's joined us today. This is Abhishek Seth from Onsurity, your host for Wellness Wednesdays. Welcome back to another Power Packed session. With us today, we have a very exciting guest, a very special guest, and it's going to be a great evening. We look forward to learning a lot of things, chuckling a lot, laughing a lot, looking at the other side of life while we are working and striving to achieve our goals at workplace. We have Anmol Garg, aka our Babaji, our corporate Babaji, and he's here to sort of lighten the air for today. And it's gonna be an amazing evening as we talk about humor at workplace, and it's gonna be an entirely 1 hour dedicated to you guys. It's been an extreme honor to have Anmol here today and interact with all of us. To those of you who don't know Anmol, I would highly recommend you please go follow him on Instagram and LinkedIn to know more about Anmol and his journey. Just to sort of quickly brief you about Anmol's life and his sort of career. So Anmol has had 3 successful exits as a founder. As an entrepreneur, he is also an NLP practitioner. He loves reading books. He's a gym freak. He's a fitness freak. He really likes to travel. And of course, he's a very good comedian. He does a very, very, very good stand-up act when it comes to sort of, corporate setting and corporate satire. That's his sort of expertise. And he's got very 2 specials that he's sort of built over years, and one of them is Matlab Kuch Bhi, which is a very popular act of his. And I would recommend you guys to sort of recommend your HRs, talk to your company about having a corporate event where you could have Anmol come and act for you guys at workplace. This is one of his best acts, I would say. And the other one is about startup to shut down, which is also very popular. And he's been very active these days, doing a lot of shows in Bangalore and outside Bangalore as well. And he's very close to Onsurity because he's always been there to sort of bring his element of humor in no matter what kind of campaign or influencing activity that we sort of plan to do for our organization. And being a LinkedIn influencer and someone who's come from a corporate background, I really look up to Anmol when it comes to having come and speak to employees about whatever issues, or probably do an act sort of briefing people about what's happening outside the world and inside your workplace at the same time, right? So it's gonna be a great evening. I hope this introduction was kind of easy for you to understand what Anmol is actually going to bring on the table today. And I will leave it to him to sort of take the session ahead in the evening. Please feel free to put down your chats on the chat box, interact with us, ask anything that you would like. And towards the end, we'll have a regular 10-minute Q&A where you could sort of, have dedicated questions asked to Anmol. And welcome once again, Anmol. Thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you so much Abhishek and Onsurity. Abhishek भाई जो आपने मेरी मार्केटिंग कर दी है लास्ट 5 मिनट में, मैं क्या बोलूं. I think my agenda is done. Thank you so much for that. Love to be here. Thank you so much everyone for coming in. Humor at workplace, बहुत तैयारी की है मैंने इस टॉक के लिए. I spent a lot of time. मैंने अपना ये सूट आयन किया है. बहुत टाइम के बाद एक फॉर्मल शर्ट पहन रहा हूँ, राइट? So a lot of effort has gone into this. स्लाइड्स मैंने बस 15 मिनट पहले बनाए थे. गाइस कम ऑन यार, आई एम एन इंजीनियर, ठीक है? जब तक वो लास्ट 15 मिनट होना है, लास्ट 15 मिनट्स का जो प्रेशर होता है, रादर जो एड्रेनलिन होता है, that creativity is just unparalleled, right? तो तुम लोग ये मत सोचो कि लास्ट 15 मिनट बनाया तो क्वालिटी अच्छा नहीं. I will give you so much value that you will also start doing everything last 15 minutes. ठीक है? So that's the whole point. Great. If you think I'm looking good, everyone type LG in the chat box. Type LG in the chat box if you think I'm looking good today. यार तैयार नहा के आए हो यार. मैं मेन पॉइंट तो बोलना ही भूल गया. मैं घर पे रहता हूँ लेकिन आज मैं नहा के आया हूँ. थैंक यू यार. क्या प्यारी ऑडियंस है सब लोग. एलजी, दिस नॉट अ स्पॉन्सर्ड पोस्ट बाय एलजी गाइस, तो डोंट वरी. उसका वरना पैसा सेपरेट होता था. ओके, थैंक यू एवरीवन. कैन वी मूव बैक टू द फर्स्ट स्लाइड? अभिषेक माय फ्रेंड, आई थिंक यू स्किप द, वी हैव गॉन टू द फोर्थ, फिफ्थ, सिक्स्थ, आई डोंट नो व्हिच स्लाइड. थैंक यू एवरीवन. हो गया भाई? कितना एलजी लिखेगा? और हाँ ठीक है, चलो. We're going to talk about importance of humor at the workplace. ठीक है? And before I get to that, let's talk about importance of humor in general. ठीक है? So I'm going to take you to my first slide. ज़्यादा ज्ञान नहीं मैं बांटूंगा, right? I'll do maximum 25-30 minutes of my stuff. उसके बाद I'll open the floor up. आपको जो पूछना है, go ahead and ask me the questions that you have. Someone is saying, did someone notice the pajamas below the corporate suit? अरे भाई ये लिख ले, ये पैंट है भाई, ये पूरा 2-piece सूट है. ठीक है? I'm not wearing a pajama. But yeah, interesting note to start with. Abhishek bhai, if you can go back to the first slide. First slide, please. I can't believe I just showed my leg on a Zoom call. ठीक है, करना पड़ता है. Okay, we're gonna go back to the first slide. Please roll back. Okay, it's got stuck. Don't worry. सब slides मेरे दिमाग में है. ठीक है. We're talking about importance of humor. सबसे पहले, right? In terms of heart, when you laugh, right? Humor helps increase the blood flow in your body. Humor helps you lower your blood pressure. It protects you from, cases like heart attacks or a lot of cardiovascular diseases, right? I'm not saying this. This is science which has done enough number of studies which is saying it. So that's how important humor is for your body. Number two, stress. Humor is known to be one of the best stress busters in the world, because when you laugh, you get transported into a different world altogether. Right? And you can't laugh and cry at the same time. It's almost impossible, because when you're laughing, the entire part of your being is happy. So it helps you reduce your stress as well. Point number three is something called as T cells. Now, T cells are cells which get activated every time you laugh. What do these cells do? They boost the immunity of your body. Right? Now, we all know immunity is very important in today's world, and the more you laugh, the more immunity you actually build. Right? Coming to the fourth point, which is productivity. Humor helps you be more productive. It boosts your morale and you're more happy as a person. The fifth point, which is weight. Humor can actually help you reduce weight as well, which is 10 to 15 minutes of laughter is equal to 40 calories. Did you know that? Even I didn't know that. Kal pata chala. I was researching for the talk. 10 to 15 minutes of laughter is equal to 40 calories. So if you consistently laugh every day, actually over 6 months, you can reduce at least 3 to 4 pounds doing nothing but just laughing. Right? So that's also very crucial. Another point is endorphins. Now, when you laugh, endorphins are hormones which are released. These are natural painkillers. They make you feel good, and it's very important for the overall well-being of your body. Without the slides, भाई मैंने सारी points बोल दिए यार. मेरे को अभी award चाहिए. Great. Okay. Let's move to the second slide. So that's the importance of humor. Yeah, we just covered these points. Can we go back? Can we go back to the, I can do a quick recap. We spoke about heart, stress, T cells, endorphins, and weight. So, यार ये सब मैं नहीं बोल रहा, आप लोग research कर लो. There is enough data, document, research being done which shows that humor has a lot of benefits. Okay, next slide, please. As per research, children laugh 300 to 400 times in a day. Guess how many times adults laugh? Give me a number. Chat pe dalo. Give me a number. How many times do you think adults laugh? Okay. Someone is saying 50, 100, 1. Mogul is saying 1. Bhai, aisa kya tragedy ho gaya, bro? Okay. Bolt. Okay. Sudhanshu says 0.5. Sudhanshu, looks like you have a very, aggressive manager. 50. Vikas says 50. Rati says 3 to 8. Okay. सारे numbers आ रहे हैं, ऐसा लग रहा है auction चल रहा है इधर, but the number is actually 17, guys. An adult on an average laughs 17 times in a day. यार bold बोल रहा है, make me laugh. भाई ये stand-up comedy नहीं है. We're going to talk about the importance of humor, okay? 17 times a day, which is pathetic because we are losing our ability to laugh, right? 300, 400 times as children and just 17 in a day. And I'm sure if the office environment is bad, you had a fight with your boss or jo bhi ho, it can actually come down from that as well. You know what? Can we go to the next slide? Women, in fact, laugh 8 times more than men. They at least smile 8 times more than men, which is, again, some interesting data. And these are shocking numbers because I think as a race, we have somewhere lost our ability to laugh and, be ourselves, right? Which brings me to my next question. Why do you think, at least in the office environment, we don't laugh as much? Why? Put in the chat box, why do you think we are so serious when it comes to working in the office environment? Sandhya says we feel we will be judged. Absolutely. Absolutely. Somewhere in the office, we are not ourselves. We put on our mask, right? We try to be someone else. And that's where it's difficult. Anushri says, no, it's not in our company. That's good to know, Anushri, but I'm talking in general. Navneet says, sales mein hu bhai. Haan, to usme to bahut important hai, yaar. In fact, that's one of the points that I'll talk about. In sales, if you can make your customer laugh, you can make them buy. Right? Very, very important skill in sales. And most salespeople are on the other end of the spectrum. You know, they are so serious. It's almost as if some underground dealing chal raha hai udhar. Right? Meghraj says to meet expectations, peer pressure. Absolutely. The men in my team laugh 0 number of times. Oh my God. Okay. Pranav is saying because of managers, you don't laugh. Because we try to be professional. Thank you, Achal, for that point. In this guise to be professional, we don't laugh. And who says if you laugh, you're not professional? Right? That's what I want you to think about. Who says if I laugh in an office meeting, or if I'm jovial, if I'm cheerful in office, I'm not being professional? Right? Unfortunately, there's this misconception that if you're serious or if you're not laughing, only then you are someone who has to be taken seriously. Okay, pretending to work. Right? So I think most of you are right. It's the fear of judgment. You feel that, will this affect my performance? What will others think? And I'm here to, bust all these myths, which is, you should be yourself in office. Okay. Can we go to the next slide? According to me, an office is like a crime scene. Okay. Can we go to the next slide, please? In this crime scene, what happens is, kiska murder hua hai? Right? और हम लोग फिर ऐसे serious रहते हैं ऑफिस में, किसने किया है? You look at each other with suspicion, right? There is no cheerfulness. You're always looking at someone and judging that person. And that's how the corporate environment is. It is like a crime scene right now, right? And if you think of it, you're spending a good, 9-10 hours in office, rather 9-10 hours in a crime scene, so to speak. Imagine what that can do to your body, right? 9-10 hours of just a lot of stress and no laughter, right? Can we move to the next slide? In the next slide, I'm going to talk about what is the benefit of humor at work, right? And this is extremely crucial. Sabse pehle, which is rapport building. Now, if I were to ask you, what's the best way to build a rapport? You will say small talk, or you will say, complimenting the other person, which helps you build rapport instantly. I say humor is the best way to build rapport, right? Let's say you're going to an interview. If you want to build that recall factor in the mind of the interviewer, get that person to smile, get that person to laugh. If you're with a customer, if you're putting them, at ease by making them laugh, it's so easy to close deals. So if you're meeting a senior manager, if you're meeting, if you're meeting an intern, the best way to build rapport is actually by making people smile, right? Think about it the last time. Someone who made you smile, you suddenly have some affection for them, right? It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter who they are. It's just that that person made you smile. You just feel happy about it, and you feel connected, subconsciously connected with that person. So if you really want to build the art of, building rapport instantly, try to bring in humor, because that is the biggest bond that's out there. Second point, which is to diffuse tension. Now, in offices, there's a lot of tension, there are a lot of conflicts, and probably in another session, conflict management, they will talk about all the theories. They'll talk about all the jargons. I would say the best way to diffuse tension is by humor, right? How many of us have really explored that as a tool to diffuse whatever confusion which is happening, let's say between peers or between you and your manager? Humor is again a very great tool in kind of breaking down those barriers, and so to make sure everyone is on the same page. Third point, which is to make your point effectively. I feel this is the best point on my slide. You can say the most serious things in this world by being humorous. सच बता रहा हूं मैं, right? Let's say Abhishek bhai मेरे boss है, ठीक है, and I have to ask him for a raise. I've been asking him for, let's say, a promotion for 3 years, और वो कभी दे ही नहीं रहे हैं, right? So every time I can't go and keep asking him, right? He'll get irritated. Let's say I find Abhishek in a meeting room, he's alone, or let's say in an elevator, or let's say the cafeteria. I'll go and say, Abhishek sir, मेरे को एक नया joke आया, आप सुनेंगे? Like COVID is just like my promotion. पता नहीं कब होगा. Right? I just made that up on the spot. But what I'm trying to say is, you can ask for a raise by being funny, right? You can say the most serious things, and if the other person doesn't laugh, just say, the joke tha, to aise hi. Chal coffee peete hain. Right? So you can say the most serious things just by being funny, and that person gets the message. Right? That person will get the message that yes, you've asked it for a long time, and it's not happening, right? So try to use humor to actually make a very important point, right? I don't know if you want to ask for.
Also, who knows, it goes on to build a culture in your team or in your company. What if no one does that? But what if you started and it actually goes on to be a thing tomorrow?
Right, it would happen. That's, I would say, long term. लेकिन अभी हम लोग सब selfish है, अपना देखना है. Right, so I'm going to keep it just to them. I have some questions on this. Shweta says, what if they take it as a joke? हाँ, अभी भी तो joke ही तो ले रहे थे वो. That's why that person has not given you the hike, right? Because that person is treating it as a joke. I'm saying your joke is a reminder for that person to go back and think about that promotion, right? It's a reminder, and the reminder format is such that they don't take offense, right? They don't feel the burden, right? It's just a joke. But it does serve as a reminder, right? Imagine if I just again keep going and telling Abhishek, I need a hike, I need a hike, I need a hike. He's like, Anmol, I can't take it anymore. I will get back to you. But in these situations where you slightly pass it off, right? And I don't know. Maybe Abhishek and I are going down the road, and probably there's a big building. Like, sir, kash mera career bhi aisa hota. Right? So I don't know what it takes. Just build that humor contextually, and you never know what will happen. Okay, we have Yatin. Layoffs के ज़माने में promotion की बातें. Why not, man? Promotion की बातें बहुत ज़रूरी है. Layoff हो या ना हो, you should always keep your priorities sorted. ठीक है? What if the boss is not a joke-loving person? Great, we will talk about this. But the point that I was trying to make was, use your humor to communicate the most, I would say, delicate points. Okay. Okay. Better team bonding. I think we all know this. You'll have better relationships with your subordinates, with your peers, with your superiors. If you come across as someone who's a jovial person, be more productive. Absolutely. If you're laughing all the way, if you're a cheerful person, your productivity is normally high because you don't have mind space to think about the negative things in life. Higher morale. If you come across people who are generally easygoing, going with the flow, they always have a good self-esteem. They always go with the flow, and generally they have a higher morale. Last point, which is to lesser stress, goes without saying. आजकल stress तो मतलब मैं क्या बोलूं, everyone is dealing with a lot of stress. I think the best stress buster again. Is this something you're born with? Is this something you can develop? Or you are yourself confused where you are on this? Some say yes, some say no. The house seems to be divided. We can develop it. Okay. now here's my perspective. People are saying can be developed, maybe yes. Okay, here's my perspective. I'm not sure what's your take on it, but my perspective is we are all funny. We were all born funny, right? Each one of us in our childhood has done stuff which I'm sure we're not proud of, right? Abhishek bhai, आपने हरकतें बहुत की होंगी बचपन में.
Absolutely. I think this comes to a point where all of us can sort of agree that, कुछ ना कुछ life में किए that has made some people happy around us and made people laugh around us. And I think it's something you can definitely develop. It's like an innate motor skill. अगर आपको खाना खाना आता है या चम्मच उठाना आता है, you can also be funny. If you choose to sort of work on it, and if it's your desire to be funny and be always funny, you can always work on it and develop it. But right. Yeah, all of us are funny. All of us are funny. I buy
all
that
of
idea.
Us, absolutely. All of us are born funny. But what happens over the course of schooling, college, office life, we develop layers around us, just like this onion, right? We develop these layers of so-called adulthood, so-called being a mature person, so-called, being someone who you are not. We develop these layers. And that's why, we seem to be as very serious people. Trust me, the most serious guy in your office is actually the most funniest person. It's just that that person is holding back. That person has these layers, right? That person is not letting you get into his or her zone and at the same time not coming into yours, right? So all of us are funny. It's just that, we don't want to showcase that side. You will see that the same senior employee in office who's always angry, who's always in a mood, who's always, has grudges. That same guy is with his friends, his college group, his school friend. That person is always the one cracking jokes. Why? Because there he's just peeled off those layers. At the core, that person is a funny person. But someone said Sangat, which is your company, right? And that is so right, which is you not letting go in certain situations, and in certain situations you're yourself. So you need to break those barriers and you need to be yourself irrespective of what the situation is, right? So that's my take. Everyone can be funny. Can we move to the next slide? Okay, so how do you be funny at office? Number one, be yourself, right? So strip away those layers. You don't have to overthink this. वो क्या सोचेगा, वो क्या नहीं सोचेगा, वो anyways हो रहा है. Right? You just have to, if you're someone who loves laughing, laugh out loud. If you're someone, who's probably thinking twice before doing something, don't do that. You just need to be yourself, and you'll start seeing that when you're yourself, you are much more funnier. That's one. Second point, which is when I say funny, the idea is not to go and tell a joke. Okay. It is to be funny through conversations, right? Now, a joke is something, let's say in my profession as a stand-up comedian, I have to write jokes. I have to write jokes, structure them, try them, and then go on stage and perform a joke. You don't have to do that at office, right? It's not about you going to a colleague and telling a joke. That's not funny. The whole idea of being funny or laughing in offices, talking to people, deriving humor from context. Okay, what is the circumstances you are around? Maybe you are in a meeting and something goes wrong, right? Can you make something funny out of it? Let's say you're at a sutta shop, you see something. Can you say something funny about that? So the whole idea is to build conversations and be funny contextually, and not go and say, okay, I have a joke, do you want to hear it? Right?
So instead of sort of becoming someone who's into jokes or saying jokes, you just have a funny disposition, is what you mean.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're someone, who is, it's like, again, when you peel away all the layers, you start seeing the same things very differently.
Strip away all the layers.
Yeah, absolutely. You strip away all the layers, you start seeing things very differently. And that's when the natural self comes out.
Right.
Okay, next slide, please. Absolutely. I think Medhavi said that funniest people I know don't intend to be funny. They just see things differently. And that's what's funny about them. I think that's exactly what I was talking about. You don't have to force it. It just happens by itself. Okay, now some of the don'ts. Now, this is also very important, at least in your office environment. When I say be funny, it doesn't mean be funny at any cost, right? There is a certain cost attached to it, which is never mock anyone. At least in the office environment, everyone has a very fragile ego, right? So if you're making fun of your team lead, that team lead might laugh at your joke, but later down the line, it might hurt you, right? So you never know who's taking offense at what, at least in the office environment. Let's say you come to a comedy club and let's say I do some crowd work with you, I make fun of you, but you love it, everyone loves it, everyone laughs, people forget. That's a different setting. In an office environment, make sure humor is not at the cost of anyone, right? So even though the joke is very good, people don't take it very lightly, especially the seniors, because they feel they are being attacked, right? So humor not at the cost of anyone in office, very, very crucial. Second point, no joke in crisis. If there's a crisis situation, at that time, don't make jokes, right? Because that's seen as, a time where everyone needs to be involved, solve the problem. Probably the next, not the best time to make jokes. I mean, if you're working with me, I would, but generally recommend you don't. Third point, which is politics, religion, and sex. Don't make jokes on these in office because these are very touchy topics, very, very touchy topics. It's very easy to alienate based on my political beliefs, based on my religious beliefs. I have a different opinion, but you've seen people fighting over political beliefs, right? And people, in fact, breaking up for political beliefs. So don't bring all of this into your office conversations because they are all polarizing. All of these topics are polarizing. They put people apart. Not the best choice when it comes to jokes. As Atif says, there's a fine line between savagery and being offensive. Sometimes people tend to forget that. Okay, I think we are done for now. The slides, we can remove the slides. I'll come back. I have the last 4 slides with me. Guys, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Whatever you want to ask in terms of humor at workplace, humor in general, go ahead, put your questions out. I'm sure you have things in mind which you want to share. So I thought this will be a great platform for me to address that. You can put your questions in the Q&A box.
Anuj says, "Ye sab doglapan hai."
Anuj, are you a manager or an employee? First, I need to ask that. Based on that, I'm going to, reply. Okay. We have a question in the chat box.
Guys, you can please feel free to put down your questions. Of course, this is different from the Q&A that we have. Anything that you have in your mind so far about whatever Anmol spoke about, or anything that's in your head that you would sort of want to share with Anmol, please go ahead. All right, we have Raman asking, what if your boss cracks joke on you? Should we reply like the same way or should we not respond itself?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. What if your boss cracks your joke on you? Should we reply like same or should not respond? Okay, interesting point. Number one, when they crack a joke on you, don't take it personally. Okay, that's the number one rule. A lot of people take it personally and they may smile while the joke was played out, but they'll hold that grudge, right? So you should have a comeback with you. Always have a comeback ready, right? Now, that comeback should not offend the manager, but if it's at the same level, go for it. Right? I feel you should go for it. So you don't have to. Otherwise, if you're someone who doesn't have a comeback, people will always joke on you, right? They'll always have something to tell you. If I crack a joke on Abhishek and he doesn't reply, he's giving me the license to go for it again. Simple.
Absolutely.
Right? So I don't want to give Abhishek, that license. Let's say if he cracks a joke on me, I'm going to give a good comeback. Right? Yatan is saying, you just said don't joke on people. Yeah, if they are telling, okay, here's the thing. I said don't kill people, but if someone is coming to kill me, I will defend, right? Please try to understand that there's a difference. Voluntarily, I'm not going to go out there and make a joke on Abhishek. But if Abhishek does that at an office party, right, I think I would come up with a clever comeback. But at the same time, I would not take it personally.
Right.
Right?
I think that's the right way of seeing things. I think that's
So Yatin, when you say a manager can offend you, but you can't, that's your misconception again. You've given that space to the manager. Who says he or she can offend you? Right? I think that's a wrong perception you have. A manager should not offend you. And if the manager's offended you, you should be in a position to communicate that to that person. That look, probably the manager said that in the office party. That's not the right context. I would set up a small meet with the manager for the following Monday and tell, hey, you cracked that joke. I didn't like it. I just thought I'll share this with you. Right? So I'm not going to give license to anyone in this office to make fun of me just because they're higher in the hierarchy. Right? Because if you do that, then you're setting the stage open for all the negative things to come your way. You have to stand up for yourself, right? So please don't have that perspective, which is, that someone higher the hierarchy can offend you, but you can't offend them, right? You don't offend anyone, but don't take offense either. Communicate that you got offended and request so that next time that person doesn't do it, right? So Raman, I think you got your answer.
Achal says, I have seen guys on place of humor. I mean, in place of humor, they offend you by making jokes on belief, age, and other things. I think that's what you sort of mentioned that, at
Yeah,
workplace, it's sort of avoid.
correct. So Achal, I'm sure you don't like that person now, right? Because that person made a joke on something which you don't appreciate. That's exactly the point I was talking about. If you make a joke on very touchy issues in office, you will alienate people. Not the best practice.
Right. Now, Sandhya has a very nice doubt. I think she's asked it twice. She says, when we are funny, sometimes I feel we are taken seriously. Is that true, Anmol?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think being funny is not just, that's again, there's a perception in the market that being funny is, not professional. Being funny is someone you are, taking your responsibilities lightly. It's like, those guys, Abhishek, who have a tattoo on their shoulder. At least earlier, if you had a tattoo at workplace, people are like, yaar, ye to hippie hai, right? ये क्या काम करेगा, ये तो हर weekend में mountains जाता होगा. That is the perception, right?
So it's like a preconceived notion, like a construct. It's built in people's head.
Right, and you can change that. You don't have to let that define you. You can change that construct.
Awesome.
Right, so it all depends on you. If you're doing your work diligently, if you're doing good work for your office, there's nothing stopping you from being, yourself, going out, cracking jokes, having fun. Yeah, so that's very important.
We have an awesome professional question coming from Meghraj. I think he's a manager.
Okay.
I work from home currently. How can we develop humor at workplace in the team in such a remote environment where the focus of our managers is on efficiency and performance? A. B. There is very less scope of building rapport, very less personal touch, making it quite a robotic system with very less scope of dialogue, but more of a monologue from the higher management. I think this is more related to like remote workplace.
Great. I think it's a very well put out question. The focus should come, the focus should come from the management, Meghraj. As you're saying, if the managers are focusing on efficiency and performance, and they don't want to inculcate a flexible culture, if they don't want to inculcate a wholesome culture, then it's very difficult, because it's the person at the head who defines the culture for the organization, right? So if they understand the importance of building this culture, only then it's going to like percolate down at the lower level. So it has to come from the top. That's why you will see a lot of leaders, while they're really good at work, somewhere there's no office culture, because they're very aggressive in their personal lives themselves. They're very aggressive as people, and that kind of culture comes down to the organization, and you'll see the whole organization being that. So number one, your management needs to take the call. They are the ones who are setting the culture for the organization. In terms of remote work, top of my mind, an idea I got is connect with your colleagues for 5 to 7 minutes over a Zoom call or a whatever, Teams call, and have fun, right? Maybe this could be at the start of the day or the end of the day. You still will converse like people. I can't keep asking Abhishek, where's the status report? What's the update? What is that client saying? Right? That's one type of conversation. Last 2-3 minutes. Hey, Abhishek, tell me the latest gossip that's happening in your life. Go ahead, Abhishek. What's the latest gossip happening?
I'm not liking my work right now.
Okay, let's say you're working with me, so you can't admit that. But okay, anything else? Personal life. What's the gossip happening?
I'm trying stand-up.
You're trying stand-up? Oh, nice. That's interesting. You see what happened there?
I'm learning comedy.
You're learning comedy. Brilliant. So just 2 minutes of conversation, and I got to know something new about Abhishek. There's a good chance Abhishek may not tell it to me, which is again my responsibility again to open him up, right? Build that rapport.
As a manager.
Sorry?
As a manager or as a peer?
Both people. If you're playing either roles, I need to make you comfortable to share these things with me, right? So if I talk to you often, let's say if I had 50 minutes of official conversation, 2-3 minutes of personal conversation, that will really light things up. It will really bring an element of personalization, right? So without spending a lot of time. So I would say if you're working from home, get onto a call, have some fun with your teammates, right? It doesn't have to be like for an hour-long session. Even 5 to 7 minutes is good to keep a team of 10 to 15 people going together. And it all has to come from the management.
Amazing. We have Abha asking, what if your boss makes you feel disconnected and demotivated? How to come up with ourselves in that situation?
Okay. Two things. I think yesterday itself, I did a video on Instagram, I haven't put it up on LinkedIn, which is corporate job में grow करना है. अगर corporate job में grow करना है, सबसे पहले grow करो मोटी चमड़ी, right? Because you need to be a thick-skinned person, right? You can't be sensitive. If you're sensitive, it's very difficult to survive in the corporate world. So if someone's trying to demotivate you, understand the reason for that demotivation. Maybe it's something that you yourself haven't delivered, in which case you take it very objectively and work on it, right? So anything that comes your way, you should not let it get into your whole system. You should filter that. Let's say the manager is saying something in a harsh tone, but there is a message. Take that message, peel out the harsh tone, okay, and work on it. So that way it's difficult to get demotivated. And I think it's easier to come back that way. So don't take anything personally, emotionally. Everything is, you've got to be like that patthar dil insan, right? Which is you take everything, the way it comes. You don't let it get inside you. Otherwise, it's very difficult to deal with a lot of stress that can actually come your way, right? And as I said, if you're a cheerful person, this becomes much more easier as well, because your mindset is, hey, whatever comes my way, I will not let that affect my mind, right? And I think this is a great segue. Can we have the slide number 16? I think, Abha, that will help you. This 16, yeah. Can we go back to the previous one? I think this is to answer your question. The previous one, Abhishek, how can I laugh when I'm actually sad, right? Can we have the next slide? And this is my answer. Very simple algorithm. If you have a problem, if you don't have a problem, you can laugh. If you have a problem, two parts, can it be solved? If yes, then laugh. If no, so if you have a problem and you can't solve it, what can you do? You can't do anything about it.
Still laugh.
Right? So the most difficult thing I would say to digest in your entire life, this simple algorithm, which is you have to laugh at every situation. Right?
With that, I come to a very funny question, and it's a very relatable question to what you said. Gaurav Chauhan says that I have a smile on my face and I'm sitting in a situation which is very serious. It's a wrong situation and I'm not supposed to be smiling. What do I do?
Great. I have this problem of laughing at during serious situations. Someone's very serious and I just laugh all of a sudden. I think the only way you can stop laughing is bite your lower lip. That's what I do. Right? Bite your lower lip and it just, at least momentarily, that expression dissolves and you become more serious. Or I would hit my shoe against the table. Right? So when you hurt yourself, your attention diverts there and you stop laughing. Right? So I think these are two hacks, because I've done both of them myself. And I have this problem of really laughing at situations when I know I should not be laughing. Right?
Awesome. We have Rishav asking, does it happen that people start talking to you lightly if you are being funny at workplace?
Not really, Rishav. I would say it's the other way around. As I said, people start taking you lightly once you give them an impression that you can be taken for granted. And how do you do that? Someone gives you extra work, you're always willing for it, you're always the one compromising. Those are the signals that give out a message that people can take you for granted. Being funny isn't. Trust me, it isn't. Right? As I said, again, you can say the most serious things just by being funny. Let's say Abhishek tells me that you need to work this weekend and I don't want to work this weekend. So I'm gonna say it in a very funny way. Sir, already अभी शादी हुई है, बीवी भाग जाएगी, तो ये weekend नहीं हो सकता, sir. Right? So I would communicate in a way where it seems funny, but it's not funny. I need family time. Right? So
let's see if we can have a throwback to our school days. We have Arpit Kumar, who's a student, asking, it's very difficult to stop laughing in front of teachers while a class is going on. Do you recall something from your childhood? Anmol, anything from school?
Oh yeah, man, that's part of our DNA. That's why we laugh even now when at least in the town hall, when the CEO is making that big presentation, right? A lot of us at the back will still laugh, like, "Yeah, mazak kar raha hai ye," and then you go on that laughter ride. So that's part of us. That's something which is built inside of us, right? And I think it all goes back to school when you had this thing of laughing at other people. So
We have Atif asking a very technical question, and I think
yeah,
this is something that sort of rings a bell in my head as well. I would really want to learn something this from you, Anmol. He
sure.
says there's a very thin line of difference between savagery and being offensive, and people tend to forget that. Can you sort of explain these two concepts so that it's sort of clear for everyone if they are sort of planning to be humorous at workplace? I think I would also want to know, because I really don't know what is the difference between being savage and being like offensive completely.
I would say savage is still being offensive, right? You know, see, it all goes down to what can you tolerate. Now, it is a very subjective issue. Let's say, Abhishek, I crack a joke on, let's say, weight. Now, let's say I make fun of someone who's probably not in the right shape. And you enjoy that joke and you laugh.
Okay.
Okay. You didn't take offense on that.
Right.
Okay. But if you did, like,
Hmm.
how can you say something like this? How can you say something based on body type, your body shaming, right?
Hmm.
You would take offense,
Hmm.
right? So it was the same joke, right? Nothing much changed. It's just that your tolerance level is very different. Your perception is very different,
Right.
right? So it's a very thin line. It's a very thin line, which is, you understanding the nature of the person and then probably doing your jokes. I think the safest jokes are self-deprecatory jokes. Again, not very exploited in offices. I make fun of myself. The safest. No one will ever get offended, right? So if you're bothered about, hey, that will this person get offended or not, make fun of yourself. And people
Right.
say that, in fact, if your self-esteem is high, only then you can make fun of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Contrary, it's actually a paradox. People say that if you have low self-esteem, it's easy to make fun of yourself. No, you need to have extremely high self-esteem to be out there vulnerable and still making fun of yourself, right? So the thin line, coming back to your question, is, the line is very blurred. What is funny to me may be offensive to you, right?
Right.
And it is almost impossible to determine everyone's threshold, right? But
Mm-hmm.
within your team members, you get a sense of understanding who is who, what kind of humor works. So try that, or if not, always use self-deprecatory humor. It always works.
Awesome. We have Govinda asking, too good with all situations by being calm, but sometimes when someone tries to harass you every time, we can't avoid or sort of leave from there. Like, how do you deal with a situation like that?
Yeah,
Say
I
for
think
example, if you don't want to flee away, if you don't want to quit that situation, and you're being harassed for something, or you're being told something which is of a condescending nature, how do you sort of deal with
I would say I'm not the best person to answer this because I'm in the same boat. Like, if
it?
something happens, I normally I'm chilled out. I don't get angry. But if it happens again, and it happens a lot more times, even I get very frustrated. But I think off late, what I've learned is just to ignore. Don't give it energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you just keep dwelling on the problem, right, you're putting more of your energy on it, and there's just a spiral of negativity. It's a vicious loop. It'll suck you down, right? So what I've learned, I don't say I've made a lot of progress, but yeah, off late I've been working on it, which is just to ignore. There is a problem, you ignore it, most likely it gets settled by itself, right? But even if you act upon it after you delay that initial burst of whatever anger, you deal with it more maturely, right? Let's say if I have a fight with Abhishek, and now if I have the fight, I'm going to go all out, man. I'm going to use the best galis that I have learned over the last 3 decades, right? And I'm going to repent for it, because there was no need for all of that. Let's say if we had a fight, but then I'm like, okay, leave it, let time pass, and then let's say 1 week passes by and I meet Abhishek again. I will not act based on the basis of my emotions which are enraged right now. I'll be more matured. I will be upset. Hey Abhishek, it was really bad what you did. But my tonality will be much better, right? So I would say let some time pass, let some water flow under the bridge, and then you can approach that situation.
Awesome. I have Nazmur who wants to unmute and talk about something. I'm going to unmute you, Nazmur. Just give me a minute.
Yep, let's go for it.
Nazmur, please go ahead. You can speak to Anmol now. I have allowed you to unmute. You can go ahead and unmute.
Okay.
I think
while if some of you want to, ask a question.
If you guys want to ask any question to Anmol, please raise your hand. There's an option on Zoom where you can raise your hand, and we're going to unmute you, and so you can sort of ask him a question.
Meanwhile, I have a question on the Q&A box, which I want to take. We can't make joke with everyone. Are there some set of friends or people around with whom you can laugh with? Making joke at work seems confusing. I don't know them personally. It's just work. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to share with everyone. Making jokes with friends is easy. That's not the point, right? You should be someone who can gel with people easily. So if I don't know my manager or my senior manager, I want to develop that relationship with him or her. So I would try to, get more personal with them, talk to them, find every small opportunity to talk to them, be funny, right? Build that rapport with them. So the idea is not just to go to office and laugh at just randomly. The whole idea is to network with the right set of people, make them feel safe, with your sense of humor, make yourself a likable person. And that way, a lot of opportunities open up. Right, so that's the art. Your manager who is let's say a khadoos guy, who's a very guy who gets angry every time. Can you be that person who can melt him or her, whatever it may be? Right, that's the power of humor, right? Then you'll be the go-to person. Whenever there's a conflict and they'll be like, Anmol, you're the best person to talk to him, go and talk to him. I think this is a great point. You've seen situations, right, where in your family they say, मामा है वही बात करेंगे, मामा है वही बात करेंगे. क्यों? Because that mama has developed the art of instantly gelling with anyone else or situation handling, either by humor or by their nature or their persona, whatever it is. So be that person in office. I hope you got your answer. Great. Okay. Do we have anyone who wants to come online?
Working more gets you more work, not a promotion, says Kushbu.
Absolutely. I never said that. So I never said work more. I always said work smart, right? So be that person who works smart. Okay, we have a question. Priyanka says, is remote working hard to find and understand people, how to handle it? I agree. Remote working is difficult. Something that I answered earlier, which is to get on to a call with your colleagues, end the call. I always say end the official call with a small personal talk. Of course, if that person is not busy with another meeting. So that's one. Second is to meet your colleagues. It's very important, right? Take them out for coffee. Trust me, it works. Let's say if you're a team of 10 and you're just organizing, let's say a coffee session. The bill may be whatever, I don't know, 3,000, 4,000, but that'll do a lot with you building rapport with your colleagues. Right? For 3,000 to 4,000, look, I'm a banya. I will take back 30, 40,000, just by that rapport. Getting my work done when I'm not available. It sounded like a transaction, but what I'm saying is gel with people, meet them face to face. So if there's an opportunity, don't miss it. Right? Talk to people face to face, eye to eye, belly to belly, and that's the best way to build rapport with them. Even if you're working remote, and you take the initiative. No one's going to take the initiative. That's what I'm saying. If you're out there and telling, hey guys, we've been working online for a long time, we're all in the same city, let's just quickly catch up. A lot of people will say no, it doesn't matter. Still, those people who come, you'll build that rapport with them.
We have another question on remote work. I think it's very confusing. Priyanka asks, the main point of remote working is that we don't understand and get to know people's mindsets. So how do you be funny and manage the situation then? Like, say if things get heated in a Zoom call or a Meet call, or if things aren't working out in your remote workplace.
Yeah. So number one is obviously not to react at that point, which is when things heat up. The idea is to not react. the idea is to, it all goes down to your ability to understand people. Like you can size people down. Abhishek is so and so, chilled out, workaholic, but if work doesn't get done, he becomes very angry. So you have those modules for everyone, right? So those pointers you have in your mind. So you got to use those pointers to diffuse situations, right? Let's say I know Abhishek loves ice cream. I think the best way to solve a conflict with Abhishek is to have a double chocolate fudge, whatever.
That is actually my favorite ice cream.
There you go. I didn't even know this, but people don't do it, Abhishek. That's the whole thing. We're also stuck up. We don't look at innovative ways to solve a solution to a problem. Right?
Yeah, it's a subject in itself. Conflict management is a huge thing. And I think everyone at workplace should sort of understand it. This, especially the top leaders. Because if you are someone who's trying to build a startup amidst an economic meltdown, if you don't use these tools, your skill set is not the only tool set that you have. There's going to be a lot of things that will make and break the company's future. So Humour definitely plays a very big role over here. I absolutely agree to this.
Right. How many of you have taken an ice cream to a meeting and saying, I knew this meeting is going to get heated up, so I bought 2 ice creams? How many of you have done that? I don't think anyone's done that. And I just thought of this right now. All of this puts you apart, from the others. It immediately, Abhishek, let's say we're going to have a heated debate. Does this ice cream thing just bring you like, oh man, this is crazy?
Yeah, it throws me off. It throws me off.
It throws you off.
Mindset. Yeah.
It throws you off. I'm not saying that the meeting will be great. No, Abhishek and I will still fight. But whenever the fight goes to a very intensity, Abhishek, one more scoop you need to have.
Absolutely.
Right. So think of ways of being, creative. And it is our perception that, hey, Abhishek is my manager. He or she will not like it. No.
It's okay even if it doesn't work out. We don't know if it's going to work out.
Exactly.
There's no harm. There's no harm in trying.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. You have to, anyways, the normal things are not working. So you might as well try something new. Right. So that's the whole thing. You've got, when I say this is also humor, humor is not a joke. That's what I've been trying to tell during the entire session. Humor is your ability to express yourself, be yourself. And I'm sure we are all, happy people at our core. Right. So
we have a case. Nidhi says that her mentor had asked her to have ice cream when she was in a lot of workload. I think this is awesome.
There you go. Something very similar. Ansh has got a very good point. I think Elon Musk is my role model when it comes to humor. I mean, he's actually doing rocket science work. The funniest.
He's the Jethalal of US. I would agree.
Yeah. So here's in fact I read that, which is when he lost a lot of valuation on Twitter, he actually took a sink to the office, an actual damn sink, put it on Twitter and said, let that sink in. And that just, my perception about the man changed. That, hey, here's a guy, who's losing $40-50 billion and he's crazy. Suddenly I started feeling that he's more likable. Leave all the firing aside. I'm not talking about that. Just that gesture made me feel crazy. Whoa, what a crazy thing to do. Right. So what I'm saying is you don't have to be an Elon Musk to do crazy things. You can do crazy things yourself. Right.
Speaking of that whole, layoff thingy and everything that's going on right now, I think a lot of tweets I've been reading these days about how managers are actually putting on soothing music on meet calls and then firing people just to sort of lighten the mood and telling people of breaking news of this sort. So it's
true.
Goes hand in.
Right. Okay, Yatin is saying you need to stop telling people to joke on themselves. Well, I don't believe in that, Yatin. I feel I have a very different approach to this. I think talking about yourself, being vulnerable on stage, and I'm saying this firsthand, I found it very difficult in the start, right? But being vulnerable on stage and talking about yourself is the most therapeutic thing you can do, right? Because if I have a problem, and I go on stage and I share that problem and I make fun of it, by the end of it, I feel so light. I'm like, chalo, nikal hi hai ye. Jo mere andar tha na, it's just dissolved. It's my personal approach. I'm sure people might have different perceptions, but I feel sharing your problems, making fun of it is the best thing to do. I don't know, it works for me at least, right? Because going back to the algorithm, if you can't solve it, laugh. If you can solve it, laugh. If there's never a problem, laugh. Simple algorithm works with me. Okay, I think we have question. We have time for like one more question, or
yeah, absolutely. We can. We can. Uh, yeah, we have an anonymous question. We can't make joke with everyone. Like there are some set of friends or people you can't joke around. Making joke at work seems confusing because I don't know them personally, because it's just work. I think I think this is where the blockage is, where people see workplace just as a workplace. Of course, you go there to learn, grow, make money, achieve organizational objectives, get your KRAs done. But there's so much more to life. When you speak about work, you're still that Abhishek, or you're still that Anmol who's going to work.
absolutely, absolutely. That I think that's where the perception needs to change. Why do you feel so overwhelmed on Monday mornings? Is office is a different part of your life, and somewhere that is not who you are. So the more you're in touch with yourself and you don't look at it as work, you still look at it as a way where you can be yourself to a certain extent. I think that really helps.
There's actually some report or some consensus that has come out saying that Monday is considered to be the worst day of the week.
Yeah,
Which
most
is
heart attacks, most
you
heart
me off.
attacks happen on Mondays, as per a study.
Wow.
So
I
yeah,
think this is why we really need humor at workplace, honestly.
absolutely. Okay, so can we go back to the previous slide? I think I'm going to wrap it up with
Yes. This
yeah.
one?
So a lot of people measure. They have different metrics to measure a great life. Some people say it's the money. Some people say it's the success professionally, personally. Some people say it's the karma points. I have a new concept. Can we go to the next slide? It's called the haha points, which is how many times have you laughed in this lifetime? Right? If you have all the money, but somewhere the haha points are not there, I don't think. I'm sure going back, you'll be like, yeah, where was the fun? Right? Or you had all the success, no laughter. Or you did all the right deeds, which is very important. I'm not saying don't do right deeds. Do right deeds, but then where are the ha-ha points, guys? Where's the time, you laughed, a strong belly laugh, from the belly gives you so much immense happiness. Right? So I would request everyone to go back and assess and actually score yourself on these ha-ha points, and you'll realize your scores are low to start with. And once you consciously work on them to boost these haha points, to laugh more, have more fun, even in the crisis, even in the worst of the situations, I'm sure we will all be happy people. And I think we were all made to be happy, not necessarily successful.
Right. Amazing. I think that sort of brings us to the end of the session. And it's been an absolute honor to have you, Anmol. And to everyone who's joined, and who's, again, people who join in the middle and are actually not sure what we were talking about today. Let me just quickly brief you about what Anmol was trying to do here, and what is your biggest takeaway from today's session. I wouldn't want you to go back and think that, hey, I attended a stand-up today. Hey, I attended a fun session of Wellness Wednesday with Onsurity today. No, you go back and tell yourself that, hey, I learned something new about life today. You looked at a new way of living life today with Anmol Garg. This was a session not just about laughing out loud or about having, a funny disposition or becoming a comedian. This session for you was actually a message in a nutshell for you to understand that life can be better. Life can be better if you are humorous, if you are just someone who's not very worked up all the time, whether you are at office doing anything. Being a little humorous is no harm to you. It's just an amazing way of looking at life. And having a little bit of humor is not gonna do any harm to you. It's not gonna bring any kind of harm to anyone, as long as you take care of the do's and don'ts that Anmol mentioned. And it's I think for me, the biggest takeaway was to understand that we've got a very amazing way of looking at life today, right? I wouldn't, for that matter, have thought about having a corporate life which is filled with humor or has some elements of humor in my daily workplace, unless I had attended this webinar today, right? So I think this is a very nice way of looking at life. And all of us should think of this on a well-being angle where, we're not just doing this for others or to make others laugh, but to keep ourselves healthy, right? You're keeping your mind healthy, you're keeping your brain healthy, you're keeping your bodily functions healthy, and you're doing well on the go, right? No matter what you're doing, whether you're on a field sales job or whether you're at a desk job, having a little humor does no harm, and it's the best way of living life. So thank you so much, Anmol, for being that laughter coach for the evening, giving us this amazing message in a nutshell, keeping the slides short, humorous, and interactive, and being on point with our inputs about humor and how we can have an enhanced well-being, right? So thank you so much once again. It's been an absolute honor having you.
Thank you so much, Abhishek, and a big shout out to Onsurity for these Wellness Wednesdays. I think it's a great concept. People taking 1 hour of their time every week and tuning in to learn something, which they can carry forward in the next session. So kudos to you and and Onsurity for making this happen. Hoping to probably do this offline sometime soon.
Amazing. Sure, we would love to have you.
Great.
Thank you so much, Anmol.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Keep laughing, keep smiling. Ta-da.